All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and we just wrapped up the Adam Peters breakdown from the press conference that he had earlier. If you haven't seen that, go check that out because he said a lot of really interesting things. But now we're coming with the Dan Quinn press conference breakdown and analysis. He talked about a lot of different things. He literally described basically his dream quarterback, and it literally sounded like Jayden Daniels, but I'm going to talk about why that could also potentially be Drake May, especially with his underrated mobility. And some would even argue that that may even be Sam Howell. Also, Jayden Daniels wise, he's already scheduled to meet with the Washington Commanders. Is it interesting that so far he's the only one that's scheduled to meet with the Commanders, or at the very least the first one that we're meeting with? We also have an update on a few more people going to the combine. That includes Josh Harris and Bob Myers, along with all of the other people that's already there. I'm gonna give y'all the update to list out all of the most important people that's at the combine or going to the combine is going to be a part of the process, interviewing especially these quarterbacks. But Dan Quinn talked about a lot of things, his past mistakes, which shoes he prefers to wear, so many things. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm the like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Again, just put out the Adam Peters press conference breakdown, so make sure you go check that out if you haven't yet, because he had a lot of interesting things to say, especially about like Sam Howell and what their strategy is and how much interviewing the quarterbacks is probably going to be one of the biggest differences between them. All of that type of stuff. Go check that out, and I have a lot more videos on the way as well. Sorry, I mean, I just keep moving them back, but it's stuff like this that, I mean, 2 days ago I didn't know, or I didn't even think about the fact that we would be having a press conference, especially this soon. But I should have expected this, but I just didn't plan on it. So I had all these other videos ready. I was planning on doing some other videos today, and then now those are getting pushed back because of these couple of videos. So stay tuned. I may even come out with another video way later tonight. So just be on the lookout for that, because it's a lot of different things. There's rumors. I'm still working on mock drafts, all kinds of stuff, a lot of different topics about certain free agent signings that we may want to look into. I'm working on a team needs video. I'm working on a video where I have like my favorite free agent targets in each position of need, and I'm gonna break it down like the dream case scenario if we're gonna spend big money, the best value, or also the cheap lower option that people like, the sleeper that people may not expect for each position of need. So stay tuned for that video and more. But let's go ahead and get to this video right here. Let's get it. All right, so Dan Quinn, of course, held his press conference today with the Washington Commanders. And just like Adam Peters also moved to the side and answered some questions from like Commanders reporters specifically that also went to the combine to do interviews and things like that. So some of the notes that we're talking about today, if you went and like watched the entire like formal press conference, and then you hear me talk about something else that you didn't hear in that press conference, that's why, because some Commanders reporters also, like on Twitter especially, uploaded some clips of what they asked the Dan Quinn off the air, basically, including, again, like the shoe thing. They didn't ask him what his favorite shoe was during the press conference. That was like a more off to the side thing. But there was some really interesting notes and information that came from that as well, but we're just gonna put them all together as in one big press conference. I'm literally just telling y'all that just in case if you went to go only watch the official press conference and then y'all think I'm just pulling stuff out of a hat, just making stuff up. Like, I didn't hear him say that in that press conference. Let me go ahead and address that now. Probably should have said that with the Adam Peters one as well, the video I just did a couple hours ago, because he also answered some other questions off to the side as well during his time. Now, moving on, the first thing that I want to talk about is his past, because we have a lot of really interesting things that we're going to talk about. But there's a few things about his past that he brought up that I thought was really interesting. Like, first of all, he was asked a question by a Falcons reporter, and ignoring the actual like real answer that he gave to the question, but the fact that he knew off the top of his head, he said it himself, that it has been exactly 1,234 days since he was fired there. That is just something crazy to keep track of. We've talked about how Dan Quinn has asked anybody that would answer, anybody that would listen, exactly where he went wrong as a Falcons head coach, anybody that was part of the organization, even Logan Paulson, the tight end, who's now like a Commanders reporter and things like that. He wasn't even like one of the top tight ends, like the feature player, like Matt Ryan or somebody when he was there. And Dan Quinn even reached out to him. He asked any and everybody what he could have done better as a head coach for the Falcons and things like that. So to even go beyond that, to have it down to the exact day memorized, and I thought it was just really cool that it was 1, 2, 3, 4, the exact amount of days since he was fired. I mean, to just walk in with that answer ready is insane. But he also said that he had a chance to reflect on what happened, says this is the right place and the right time for him to be a head coach again. Somebody asked him about like the whole Seattle situation and like would he have preferred to have been there? Was that his priority place to land? And he said, quote, I think I'm where I'm supposed to be, unquote, with super confidence. Like he's super down for what he has going on with the Commanders. He's super optimistic, just like I am. And we're going to talk about why a little bit later, because he has some really big praise, some unique praise for Adam Peters, something that you don't typically hear as far as praise goes about GMs. You would hope so, but I mean, I don't remember the last time I've never heard Ron Rivera say that about Martin Mayhew. I never heard anybody say that even about, as much as I missed Kyle Smith for the past few years up until now, we just got Adam Peters, because I think Adam Peters is our best talent evaluator since we had Kyle Smith. I never really heard anybody say this about Kyle Smith. I don't remember anybody saying this about Scott McClellan or anybody like that as well. So it's a really interesting compliment. We're going to get there later. He also talked about some philosophies that he had. First of all, he said that he's ready to attack the combine, and he said that the Washington staff feels the urgency of trying to create a new identity. So basically, like year one of the biggest things they need to get off the checklist is creating an identity. He talked about it briefly in his initial press conference weeks ago. Joe Witt Jr. like super hammered the point down at his press conference and literally said like, this may not be for everybody. Players, coaches, whoever. Everybody may not be down for how hard you have to work, play, coach, or whatever to the standard that they want. This may not be a fit for everybody. Even if you're physically fit enough, or even if you're IQ wise fit enough, if you're not emotionally and personality, work ethic fit for this situation, for this environment, for the identity they're trying to create, you're not a match here. And again, just to bring it back to what I said after the Joe Witt video, the reason why I was so excited about that message and that mentality that we're having is because that's really how Kirby Smart has built the Georgia Bulldogs. It's not like we've necessarily gotten the best players every recruiting cycle. And yeah, we do have like #1 recruiting classes overall, but Kirby Smart in Georgia pass up a lot of elite talent because if they're not there mentally and emotionally, if they're not ready to fit a certain culture, Kirby Smart doesn't want anything to deal with them. And then you see 5-star recruits, and to equate it to the NFL, you see first rounders end up busting all the time. It's about the mentality. It's about the emotional. It's about the belief. It's about the work ethic. It's about the identity, everything. Do you fit what we're trying to do? Yeah, if you're a freak athlete, that's great and all. You can run fast. You can jump high. You're strong. But there's way more to it than that, which is why Adam Peters kept reiterating that these interviews with the quarterbacks are going to be very important, and Dan Quinn says something similar. But I just wanted to point out that philosophy right there, that they truly mean this. They've said it several different times, different occasions. It's been several different people saying it. This is truly the message behind the Commanders, and I just feel like the fan base deserves to hear that, because that's something that has me very excited. Again, even just going back to my Georgia Bulldogs, that's literally why we've won the championships that we won and always competing, because we have great fits. We have guys that believe in the culture, believe in the process. When times are hard, when you're losing, or when you just don't feel like getting out of bed to do something, that belief in the culture is what gets you to get up out that bed and run those miles 6 a.m. to be better prepared for the game. It's just like little things, a lot of mental and emotional stuff to the game. I mean, we're coaching humans, we're scouting humans, we're analyzing humans. We're projecting humans. These are not just robots that run fast and jump high. Like, there's a lot of the mental and emotional side to this as well. You got to conquer that to be an elite team. And then also, speaking of philosophy, going back to the football X's and O's side of it, he said that the run game and the play action are vital to any good offense and good quarterback play. So that lets you know that even though Cliff Kingsbury does run an air raid system, he already said it himself, don't call it an air raid system because there's going to be some changes there. We brought in Anthony Lynn to influence the offense to run the ball a lot more. And then Dan Quinn just said it himself, we're going to run a lot of play action. So even though Cliff Kingsbury is known for running the air raid offense that primarily works out of shotgun with 5 wide receiver sets and no tight ends, really until they traded for Zach Ertz, then they got him involved a lot as well. But typically they're known as this super college-like, pass-happy shotgun RPO offense. But with Anthony Lynn here and Dan Quinn saying that we're going to rely on play action a lot, I'm expecting our offense to be a lot more balanced and a lot less air raid than what people expect by the time we go out there and start playing some real football. I'm super excited. I can't wait for the preseason to see what at least some glimpses of the offense will look like. I'm super excited. And the reason I'm really excited hearing Dan Quinn talk about that, especially when it comes to the play action part, is that I feel like CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy benefited mightily from having play action involved in their offenses. Like, you could tell that a lot of their best plays, the plays where they look the most confident, came off of play action because it makes things easier for young quarterbacks. So for Dan Quinn to really emphasize that, you can tell they've been thinking about every little detail possible about how we can maximize this team, let alone a potential franchise quarterback, which you're more than likely going to end up drafting number 2 overall, but we'll get there. Starting with quarterback though, Dan Quinn said that he has talked with Sam Howell and wanted to make clear how impressed he's been by the young quarterback's competitiveness. Quinn kept emphasizing how much of a competitor Sam Howell is from their times playing against him. Remember, Dan Quinn was the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator for the past few years. He went against Sam Howell, 3 times? Because the last game of the season, the 2022 season, and then twice in the 2023 season. And he basically talked about, having a game plan against him. Like, as we're doing our work on him, our film sessions, I'm noticing that this guy has something to him. But I thought it was funny though, because my boy at Redskins Colt tweeted, "Can't wait to see you compete with Drake May, bud," unquote. And I thought that was hilarious because as much as he's hyping up Sam Howell, it's quite likely that that's what's going to happen. Sam Howell is going to be a part of a quarterback competition versus either Jayden Daniels or Drake May, more than likely. If I had to put money in either option, what's more likely, I think is that one. And I mean, and he'll probably not even have the advantage there. Like, he'll be having an uphill climb at that point to win the competition, even if he's even given an actual real shot at it. So I thought that was hilarious. But shouts out to Dan Quinn for being political, but also being truthful, man. Sam Howell does have competitiveness to him. And I mean, say what you want to say about him as far as potentially being a starting franchise quarterback that can lead you to Super Bowls. That guy has heart at the very least. We can all at minimum agree on that. And y'all already know how I feel. I feel like the Commanders did him dirty more than he did the Commanders dirty, but that's a topic for another video. I still want to draft quarterback at number 2, but I haven't necessarily given up on Sam Howell's ability to be a franchise quarterback, or at the very least a starting quarterback, or just a really good quarterback, even if he's a backup. And now also moving on, now that I think about it, Quinn has based a lot of his hiring decisions so far on the thought of, basically, I'd prefer to play with this guy than to have to play against or coach against this guy. Like with Cliff Kingsbury, that was like one of the main things he said about him. He was like, that offense is so scary, I prefer to have him on my side than to have to go against him if he's ends up getting hired by another team. So basically, he likes to hire and potentially draft or choose free agency or already currently on the roster guys that strike fear in him. Who are the guys that give him the biggest headaches when he's a defensive player, defensive coordinator mind type of guy, and he's trying to scheme up against that coach, that player? Who are the guys that give him the biggest fits? And basically my main point is that, granted that that one game in 2022 against Dan Quinn was pretty decent, even though we didn't ask him to throw the ball a lot. And then his 2 games against the Cowboys this past 2023 season was not very good. 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown. Now, I wouldn't count that as necessarily striking fear into Dan Quinn and his Cowboys defense. But at the same time, though, Dan Quinn could see it as more of a Commanders failing Sam Howell than Sam Howell failing the Commanders type of thing, like I said. So who knows? But the performance that Sam Howell, at the very least statistically, put up against the Cowboys was not good. And if Dan Quinn is out here hiring people because of how elite they've been against him, or how afraid he is of that player potentially being elite against them, I'm not sure if Sam Howell checks that box. Now, moving on, Dan Quinn was asked about quarterback qualities that he wants to see in his franchise starting quarterback. In order, he listed mental and physical toughness, okay? And then how do they stand in versus the rush? Okay, so how are they in the pocket? All of that type of stuff. And then accuracy on deep ball, okay? Leading to explosive plays. And then a quarterback who can get out of a bad play with his legs. He emphasized mobility, man. He doubled down on it and talked about how a mobile quarterback that can escape a bad player or speed up a throw is very important. He said, quote, "Those are the things that you look for. You have to find that," unquote. And I'm not gonna lie, man, depending on who you ask, that literally sounds like Heisman Trophy winner Jayden Daniels to me. Like, he literally just described Jayden Daniels, in my personal opinion. But at the same time, that's Drake May too. Maybe to a slightly lesser extent. Like, I feel like that description is like 100% Jayden Daniels. But I feel like it's also at least 90-something% Drake May. Jayden Daniels is a better fit from those traits, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that Drake May isn't a great one as well. And that's just my personal opinion. And then you could even argue that that may even be Sam Howell too. If Sam Howell were to reach his ceiling, that sounds like he could probably be describing Sam Howell. We saw it in flashes last year. We didn't see it consistently enough, but we saw it in flashes. It existed. It happened at times. So I just thought that was really interesting because the quarterback, the dream quarterback that he described, I feel like Jayden Daniels fits that the best. But don't sleep on the fact that Drake May, or even if you're still in that boat, Sam Howell as well. I'm super team draft Jayden Daniels, but I would be very happy if we ended up with Drake May as well. And then if we traded back and took tackle or something, that's my least favorite option, but I would be cool with that as well. I'm behind whatever this organization chooses to do, to be completely honest with you. That's how much faith I have in these elite minds that we brought into the front office and coaching staff this hiring cycle. But of course, I'm gonna reiterate, Jayden Daniels is my favorite option to walk away with this draft getting. Just me personally. That's just me. I'm working on a video right now where I'm breaking down how Jayden Daniels is better than Drake May and how Drake May is better than Jayden Daniels. Like, what exact traits are each of them better at than the other guy, or even the best at out of this entire quarterback class? I think that's going to be a really interesting video that y'all love, because I get extremely detailed with that. Like, I'm trying to think of every little trait, and it's really interesting. And then from that, you walk away with which quarterback you prefer. And then again, we could all be watching the same all 22 and come up with completely different conclusions. So make sure you go watch your own tape as well. Don't just listen to me and believe me wholeheartedly. I appreciate the fact that y'all respect my opinion, but I'm always going to encourage people to do their own research and their own film study. But speaking of Jayden Daniels, it's been reported that Jayden Daniels has formal meetings scheduled with the Giants, Vikings, Saints, and Patriots today, as in Tuesday, February 27th, because by the time a lot of y'all see this, it will probably already be tomorrow, as in Wednesday. And he'll also meet with the Commanders tomorrow, as in Wednesday, February 28th, which is the thing that we care the most about because we're Commanders fans. Even though he'll meet with those other teams is definitely noteworthy. We'll get to that. And of course, out of all of those teams, we have the highest draft pick and the best chance to land them if we really want to, but you never know. Maybe the Bears end up interviewing him later or something. We just haven't seen the report about it. But excluding the Bears, because I'm just assuming they're taking Caleb Williams #1 overall. I'm literally just assuming. But you have the Commanders at #2, Patriots at #3, Giants at 6, the Vikings at 11, and the Saints did last out of that group at 14th overall in the first round. It sounds like people who may even need quarterbacks later than that are not even potentially trying to interview them. But then again, I'm going to say this over and over again. Maybe this is just information that's only been reported and not necessarily this is a fact. These are the only teams that are going to interview Jayden Daniels. They may not necessarily be true. Maybe these are just the teams that we've heard about so far. And of course, as somebody that wants Jayden Daniels really bad, That makes me very happy to hear. But I have two major immediate thoughts from this. First of all, no Falcons? Like, really? Because I feel like they need quarterback third most out of this entire draft. Out of the entire NFL, you could argue the Falcons are easily one of the top three teams that need a quarterback. Us, the Patriots, and the Falcons. Some people would even argue, since we have Sam Howell, and Sam Howell is better than Desmond Ridder, some people feel like the Falcons need quarterback more than we do. But it's just the fact that we already have the second overall pick, and it's like you can't pass up a chance to get a franchise quarterback, especially with the new owner, new GM, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new everything that matters. So I can see the argument there as well. But if you add the Falcons to this group, they're technically in the middle of draft picks, behind the Commanders, Patriots, and Giants in the draft order, but still ahead of the Vikings and Saints. And I've been hearing reports about the Falcons wanting to be very aggressive about trading up for a quarterback. I've been hearing that. So is it potentially for Drake May? Because I highly doubt that they would make that trade until after we pick Jayden Daniels at number 2 overall. Like, if they're putting together a trade package and trying to move up to 3 to potentially get a guy like a Drake May or even like a Jayden Daniels, but they didn't interview him, no matter who it is, they'll probably wait until literally after we select number 2. Because you know how crazy that would look if they traded up to number 3 to get, say, Drake May, since they're not interviewing Jayden Daniels yet, at least reportedly not interviewing him. Maybe they never will, and supposedly they are more interested in Drake May. If they trade up to number 3 with the Patriots to get Drake May, and then we take them at 2, you know how silly they would look? So they're probably just going to wait until after they see what we do at number 2 to base that on. Or you can look at it in a different way from the Falcons. Maybe they're just doing extensive research on Jayden Daniels, because maybe they're not interviewing Jayden Daniels or doing extensive research on him because they already know that they want Justin Fields and they plan on getting Justin Fields. Maybe they already have like a trade agreed upon in principle with the Bears, like behind the scenes or something, like for Justin Fields. And maybe they're just completely out of the quarterback draft market because they already have their guy who, again, could potentially be Justin Fields. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, notification to my phone, Dove Kleiman just tweeted, the Falcons are emerging as the number 1 trade option for Justin Fields. Wow, Falcons have contacted the Bears about Fields and want to get a deal done. So that's probably why they're not interviewing Jayden Daniels, and maybe why they may not interview Drake May. If they don't interview Jayden Daniels or Drake May, or especially like the other quarterbacks, like the next tier, like JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Spencer Rattler, those guys, if they don't interview any of those guys, that shows that they're going all in on Justin Fields, and either they're going to do whatever it takes to get him, or they already have something behind the scenes already done and finalized, and we're just waiting to find out until they are ready to report it and announce it. And then back to the Commanders, point number 2, because again, like I said, point number 1 of my immediate thoughts are this whole Falcon situation that we just went on a tangent about for like the last 5 minutes. But my point number 2 is back to the Commanders when talking about the fact that we've already planned on interviewing Jayden Daniels, and so far that's the only quarterback that's been reported. With no confirmed Drake May meeting yet, does this mean that the Commanders prefer and are prioritizing meeting Jayden Daniels first? Or is it just a matter of this one just happened to be reported first and get out first, and that's it? I'm leaning far more towards the latter, but I'm just throwing those thoughts out there. Maybe the Commanders are showing that they prefer Jayden Daniels, but I feel like more than anything else, it's probably just we've only gotten the report that we're interviewing Jayden Daniels first. That maybe we are interviewing Drake May, it's on the way, but nobody's just taking the time to announce it or to tell Adam Schefter to announce it or something like that. So I definitely believe the latter. I don't think we should blow this out of proportion, but maybe, you never know. But I also want to be clear with other things as well. One, is completely malpractice to not interview all of the top draft quarterbacks. Even as much as I do not want JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Spencer Rattler, I want Jayden Daniels mostly, and then Drake May second, because again, I'm ignoring Caleb Williams. I'm just assuming he's going to the Bears. Again, especially with all of this Justin Fields stuff going on to the Falcons, it just looks like every day that passes, Caleb Williams to the Bears going number 1 overall just seems more like a lot. But the Commanders better be interviewing every quarterback, and you never know what may happen with Caleb Williams. Make sure you interview him as well. So I'm sure the Drake May interview is on the way at some point within the next couple of days. just hasn't been scheduled, or again, maybe it's been scheduled and nobody's just announced it to the public yet. Maybe Jayden Daniels isn't actually the first quarterback that we're meeting with. It's just the first quarterback that we're hearing about us meeting with. Just to keep that in mind. But also, number 2, Adam Peters just said how important interviews are. And there's no way the only interview is Jayden Daniels, because what if he fails the interview? Doubt he would. Highly doubt he would. I think he's going to kill the interview. But I'm just saying all of this to say that we should expect the Commanders to interview everybody for those exact reasons. Adam Peters just said in the video breakdown that I did a couple of hours ago how important it is that the interview process to the quarterback process, like the interview process, he said, is literally going to probably be the thing that separates these quarterbacks who are all very talented in different ways. All of these guys have big arms, can make every throw. All of these guys are mobile to different degrees and things like that. Was probably going to be the biggest separation between each quarterback prospect, especially like a Jayden Daniels or a Drake May, is how they interview. And remember, in these interviews, they're not just interviewing them like a job, like tell me your biggest weakness, tell me a time you struggled at work, all that stupid stuff. It's more so like, we're going to bring up this film, and it just depends on how Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, Eugene Shen, all of those guys want to go about it. But typically, they bring up film and they bring up a bad play, for example, and then they'll ask like Jayden Daniels or Drake May and be like, why did this happen? Like, work me through that process. And then they'll probably not even ask this directly, but they'll expect both of those quarterbacks to basically go on and add to that question. And this is how I improved on that. And this is how I adjusted to that, and why I will never make that same mistake again. Or they'll even bring up the good plays and ask them, okay, what made you do that? Like when you just decided to just randomly take off and run and then throw it on the run, what made you not just keep running? Or what made you leave the pocket in the first place? Like trying to get in their head and see what makes them tick. And they're going to ask them a lot of personality questions, a lot of things to see if they fit that culture that we just talked about for a few minutes earlier in the video. Also, moving on, I'm not going to lie, I forgot this was a Dan Quinn video. We've been talking about quarterbacks so long. He also talked about his past mistakes, especially the one versus the Green Bay Packers and the Cowboys. And he said, quote, "Those are games that leave a scar. The team had been excellent about not allowing explosive plays, and certainly that game wasn't," unquote. So again, just another hindsight is 2020, and I'm just hoping that Dan Quinn has learned from his mistakes, because he's willing to reflect on a lot of things and be like, where did I go wrong there, and how can I do better? And again, I'm pretty sure with that mentality that all of these guys have on this coaching staff, Cliff Kingsbury with his past failures at times with the Cardinals, Dan Quinn is the Falcons, a lot of these coaches, they're definitely going to ask that question in these quarterback interviews. I'm just going to go ahead and give you the inside note, the heads up right now. And then also, Dan Quinn had big love for Adam Peters. He said that he watched some tape with Adam Peters and he believes, quote, "he has a stronger feel than most," unquote. Quinn said it's obvious Peters is elite as an evaluator. And of course, you would hope that a head coach feels that way. Anybody feels that way about your general manager. But you can tell that Dan Quinn, and he tried to play it down. If you watch the clip, you could tell like he was really excited inside. Like he's like really honored to be working with a guy like Adam Peters. You could tell one of them days they were sitting in the film room and with AP, Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, maybe who else was in there, and he was looking like, boy, but it different now. Like he's never seen nothing like this before. I ain't never seen a GM this detailed and this serious with film session and scouting and all of that type of stuff, man. You could tell he was just like, man, I'm happy to be here. I got some dogs in my corner this time around. I got some real ones in the front office and the coaching staff. He's excited. He also emphasized having a balance of run and pass and how very important that is, which explains the hiring of Cliff Kingsbury for the pass and Anthony Lynn for the run, like I've already explained in other videos. And then in random news, Dan Quinn's favorite brand of Jordans are the 11s. Said he has more Jordans than his work closet can even hold, and I thought that was funny. And then on top of that, Buddy had on a pair during his combine press conference, while other people are in suits, wearing Sperry's or whatever dress shoes people wear. And then you got Dan Quinn over there with the Jordans on, man. He two-teed, man. That's my head coach, man. But he didn't wear the hat backwards this time. That's his little signature, wearing the fitted backwards. He ain't do that today. He went out there pure bald, cue ball, but he put a little fit together, man. And the shoes is them, man. Now, also moving on, the Commanders owner Josh Harris is also in Indianapolis. So is former GM Bob Myers, who is now a Washington consultant, former GM for the Warriors, and still like an analyst on like NBA TV or one of them. I know he still covers basketball, things like that. I see him trending on Twitter every now and then, and I'm like, oh, Bob Myers trending, and it's never anything for Commanders. It's always something basketball related, which is funny. But I think it's really interesting that a head coach, a GM, and also now the owner and advisor are all going to Indianapolis. I mean, I'm telling you, man, this looks like if you were ever thinking that maybe we don't take quarterback number 2 overall, I would strongly suggest to change your mind and just go ahead and accept the fact that we more than likely are. Because owners aren't always at the combine, dog. GMs, yes. Head coaches, yes. Defensive and offensive coordinators, yes, a lot of the times as well. But owners, that's a little different. Either we are going all in on quarterback, which I think is most likely, and even Josh Harris will be there for the interviews or something, or maybe we're going all in on some trades like I talked about in the Adam Peters breakdown, or maybe just some owner-to-owner dealings or advice behind the scenes as far as stadium and things like that. Maybe it's something like that, but I just feel like we're pulling out all of the stops. We're bringing all of the big guys to these quarterback interviews. That's what it looks like from my point of view. I could be wrong. Either way, though, this is pretty big news. This is not normal. This is not normal at all. But then again, it's his first NFL combine, so maybe that's why. But taking Bob Myers with you as well, very interesting, man, especially maybe on like the NFL agent side. I've already talked about it. When we hired Bob Myers, I brought up the fact that a lot of people feel like he's some of the best guys in the business, no matter which sport you're talking about, which professional sport. He's one of the guys that has some of the best relationships with agents. Agents love him. Same thing with Adam Peters. I also talked about that in my previous video a couple hours ago, that we have guys in this building that NFL agents love, that have healthy relationships all around the NFL. We have not burnt bridges. So maybe bringing Bob Myers helps your case for potentially getting some trades done. Maybe you're talking to agents, because agents of potential draft prospects are also the same agents that are representing NFL free agents. So maybe Bob Myers is going there, and Josh Harris as well, to start to talk to some of these agents and get some early access, some early talking, negotiations, all of that type of stuff. I believe that's technically not allowed yet, but you just never know, man. Again, like I talked about in the Adam Peters video as well, everybody and their mama is at the Indianapolis stadium right now for these combine, and behind the scenes, people just brushing shoulders, passing by each other in the hallways, in the stadium, on the field and stuff. Everybody that's everybody, for the most part, is there at the stadium. Even though it's really interesting, though, because we're sending Dan Quinn as our head coach. We're sending all of these guys, but some teams around the NFL aren't even sending their head coaches, like I talked about in the video yesterday, like Sean McVay, just the name of Matt LaFleur, and Kyle Shanahan, and Mike McCarthy. Those guys aren't going to the combine. We're sending everybody. And again, on the Bob Myers, Josh Harris side, maybe that's just simply because they're trying to do some free agency stuff, maybe some stadium stuff, who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing all of this to just go all in on finding their franchise quarterback. So now, just to update y'all on everybody notable that's going to be at the combine, because of course we're taking a bunch of scouts and things like that, but you have Dan Quinn, you have Josh Harris, Bob Myers, you have Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, Lance Newmark, Martin Mayhew, Brian Porter, Rob Rogers, and Eugene Shin. Just to start it off, man, those are some of our most important people, and a lot of them all at the same place at the same time. We're making some moves. It could be a mix of everything. It could be a mix of quarterback, free agency, trades, everything. We're going there to get busy and to be productive and not come back empty-handed. We're trying to gain some advantage somewhere, at minimum, at least in one of those areas. There's a reason we're taking all of those people. Again, you have some teams out here not even their head coaches are going. For us to be taking all of these people, it means something, is my main point. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Like I already said before the intro video, I have so many video ideas I'm so excited to get to y'all to go ahead and work on. I have them all just laid out, all of my information and notes written down. I just got to take the time to record them. I'm just super busy. I keep getting backed up with more videos like this one that kind of come out of nowhere that I didn't plan on doing. Just keeps pushing everything back. So just please stay patient with me. I really appreciate y'all. Of course, make sure you leave a like, hit the subscription button, hit the bell next to it. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything we discussed in this video, because again, a lot of these are just theories I'm throwing out there. I'm guessing for a lot of these things while we're doing certain things that Dan Quinn said, the reason that Josh Harris and Bob Myers are also going. I'm just throwing out theories. I'm throwing out good guesses, educated guesses, and things like that. But let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my theories. If you have any additional theories that I didn't think of to say in the video or anything like that, let me know those as well. All of that, man. So I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.